Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Skinner. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Director of Faith Development here at UUCUC. And I am delighted to be leading worship this morning as we celebrate new beginnings. We are a church of many different theologies and identities, united by our shared commitment to building community, seeking inspiration, promoting justice, and finding peace. We are also a congregation of all ages, which means we embrace all the noises and little disruptions our kids can bring into Sunday mornings. Whether this is your first Sunday with us or your 1,000th, whether you are here in the sanctuary, listening on our brand new audiovisual system in Fellowship Hall, or, I know, isn't it cool? Or watching from afar online, know that you are welcome here, and this service is here for you. May you find something in it that you need. And now I will invite you to take a moment to turn in your seats or stand if you like and greet your neighbors. You might introduce yourself wish each other a good morning, shake hands, or simply put your hand on your own heart and nod to say hello. All right, so that was just a beautiful taste, and you can continue socializing after the service in Fellowship Hall. So now let's prepare to begin our time of worship together. We are celebrating new beginnings, and especially the beginning of a new academic year by thinking about backpacks. I'd like to start us with some words from Marnie Harmony. And she said, "We, whose journeys are always beginning, we whose mission always awaits us, we whose visions are bent on loving, we gather together here. We gather as a community drawn together, each toting our own backpacks of treasures and dreams. We gather together seeking meaning, yearning to understand life in all its dimensions. We gather together with questions, the kinds of questions that provoke us to the path of action. We gather with hope, the kind of hope that pulses on through uncertainty. We gather with tenderness, the kind of tenderness that can only be born from knowing human capabilities as well as human imperfections. We gather wanting certainty and having none, but we are wakeful to possibilities. We gather then unbounded but close. We gather together here. This Sunday we celebrate new beginnings and especially the beginning of a new academic year. Be it real or metaphor, when we talk about backpacks, whatever you've put in that backpack or your briefcase, your purse or your satchel, whatever you've brought into the sanctuary that might be weighing you down, I invite you to leave it behind. Whatever you are carrying that is keeping you distracted, causing you anxiety or stress, making you worn out or feeling hopeless, just leave it behind for a few minutes. If you need it, it'll be there for you when we're done. But just for this hour, let it go. So please stand if you're able and join in as we sing our opening hymn, We Give Thanks. We'll repeat the words 2 times. So I'd like to invite Pam and Lan Reichert to help us light the chalice.
Whenever we gather, we light a flaming chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, to mark this time as special and sacred. If you have a chalice or a candle at home, you can light it with us now. And if you would join me in the reading, The End is the Beginning by Katie Savani Gelfand. We call forth the life of our faith by igniting our chalice. This spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space to reflect where we have been and where we are going. Even knowing that this particular flame will intentionally end with our ritual extinguishing, we fear not its end, for we know with brave hearts that from every ending of our lives, we are sent forth to make a new beginning. This is a special time for our children and youth, as well as members of our congregation that work in schools or at the university or who homeschool. It can be an exciting time to meet new teachers and reconnect with friends and with classmates. But it also can be a time of nervousness and uncertainty for those going to a new school. This is especially true and hard for people who have recently moved into our community, those who have English as their second or maybe their third language, or people who don't have the resources or accommodations that they have and need, that they need to help them flourish. So this morning, we'd like to welcome our very own and very special immigrant justice team member, Wendy Hartley, and Fergus, who hopefully all of you know well by now, as they share one person's story of a new beginning. Wendy.
Reading glasses on. Oh, what do I have in my backpack? My goodness. Nice. This is a new story. Ready? All right, listen up. No, the treats are not in the backpack. Okay, here we go. All right. Further down. Better? Okay. Don't know how long it's going to stay up. I was born in Guatemala and lived there for 15 years. I'm the oldest of 5 children, 4 girls and a boy. My mother was a single mother who worked day and night to provide for her children as best she could. I didn't live with my mother until I was 7 years old. Instead, I stayed with family members or sitters, since my mother often had to work. Life was very difficult for me and my siblings during our childhood. We all encountered verbal and physical abuse, not to mention all the domestic chores we were expected to do on a daily basis. As the oldest child, it was my job to care for my sisters and brother while our mother was working. I was responsible for cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, and the like. Education is not a priority in Guatemala. Not because there's no interest in it, but because survival is a greater priority. 3rd grade was the highest grade my mother and most of my relatives were able to complete. I went to school when I could, but I still missed many days. I moved from school to school, from teacher to teacher often. All in all, there might have been 1 or 2 school years when I completed an entire year at the same school. Even though I missed many school days, I was able to earn my 6th grade diploma at the age of 14. I was very proud of this accomplishment because this diploma is an honor to obtain in Guatemala. Its value is equivalent to obtaining a high school diploma here in the United States. Unfortunately, my mother was not able to be there with me to celebrate because a year before, she had left Guatemala to make a better life for us in the United States. After living apart from her for 2 years, she finally was able to bring me and my 4 siblings to live with her. January 1994 marks the date I started attending school in the United States. I was 15 years old when I enrolled at Martin Van Buren High School in Queens Village, New York. I was very confused. I was starting in high school, but I hadn't yet completed the requirements of junior high school. I learned that because of my age, I needed to begin in the 9th grade. Talk about a serious achievement gap. But I was thrilled to start school. My new school was towering, fascinating, and alluring. It was so clean, and the structure was something I had only seen on television. I was stunned when they handed me a pass to ride the bus to and from school. For so many years, I'd walked miles to attend school, and now I'd get to ride the bus. Oh, but wait, it got better. Free breakfast and lunch? Wow! I couldn't have asked for more. I realized that my school was meeting my essential needs so I could attend and learn. Man, but it keeps going. From the very first day, I gave it all I had. I didn't speak a word of English, but I welcomed every single opportunity to learn. I enrolled in any class I could, even weekend English classes. There was no stopping me. I was in a land of opportunity, and I was going for it. During my first school year, my classes consisted of 1 English as a second language, ESL class, after another. I had wonderful ESL teachers. They were very friendly and always made me feel welcome. One ESL teacher knew a little bit of Spanish. You have to be patient, huh? Patience is a virtue. So if I needed something, she was my go-to person. My ESL classes had an old school structure with textbook guided lessons. There was no interaction, but a lot of note-taking and worksheet practice. I didn't understand then why I wanted to get out of ESL so badly. Today, I realize that not being able to participate in the courses other students were taking was making me feel like a failure. In some ways, walking the school hallways as an ESL student made me feel inferior and not worthy of real learning. I had different classes, different textbooks, and different schedules. I was different. A determination within me ignited me to learn English to shed my ESL status. A year and a half after starting school, I placed out of ESL after taking the annual language assessment. I was super excited because that meant I could get enrolled in core courses to gain credits for graduation. I started taking economics, history, math, biology, health, etc. But this is where the real struggle as a language learner began. I always sat in the front of all my classes. I wanted to be as close as possible to the teachers and the boards. I took as many notes as possible in each class. I brought home all my textbooks to review and complete assignments. I realized that the school had a library that would give me books to take home. So I took out 3 different types of dictionaries and a thesaurus. I would use these at home to translate my notes and to complete assignments. Of course, my schoolwork was always done after making dinner and putting my siblings to bed. Don't forget, even though we were in the U.S., I was still the oldest child and expected to care for the little ones while our mother worked. My mother can attest to how I'd stay up until 3 a.m. completing assignments and studying my notes. I enjoyed learning. I cherished new information. I was like a sponge soaking it all in. I'll never forget the day I started reading my economics textbook and the terms supply and demand began to make sense. I understood the words. I understood the content, and I was learning. I must have finished my economics book in a day or 2. I started passing my classes and earning the required credits for graduation. I was so focused on schoolwork that I didn't care much about what senior's field trip or prom. To be honest, I didn't know how important these events were. All I wanted was to get my credits and pass the required assessments to graduate. I've learned how important and necessary a high school diploma is to be able to go to college. And I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be the first in my family to have a career. I wanted to be a teacher and make a difference. I chose teaching because I wanted all students and their families to recognize that they had a voice and that their perspectives mattered. Because of what my family and I experienced, I wanted to be a teacher to create more welcoming environments for immigrant parents and their children. I would afford them opportunities to share their stories and to be heard. What do you think, Fergus? The end.
So we are reminded today that every transition and new start is a reminder to us of the ever-flowing cycle of life and that the universe is creating fresh, amazing things in us and through us. Though we're sad about summer ending, we are grateful for this school year. We appreciate the opportunity to learn and to grow, knowing it is one of the best and biggest privileges that we have.
So now we'd like to invite any kids forward, and I will also invite any person of any age who remembered to bring a backpack, a briefcase, a satchel, a gym bag, a lunch sack. I see our lead minister, Reverend Beth, is there with her backpack. I invite you to come forward. We're going to have a blessing of all your backpacks. And also, anyone here who doesn't have your bag, but you do have one at home that you use all the time, I hope you'll be visualizing it because this blessing goes out to you as well. And members of the Immigration Justice team have these backpacks that we have collected over the past few months. You can come forward and take one of your backpacks to be blessed as well. Oh, Wendy says anybody else can come. We need more hands for all these backpacks. Just gather around. You don't need to be organized. So we carry bags with us throughout our weeks for many reasons. Some of us take books and homework to and from school. Some of us bring our lunches to school or to work. Some of us take computers and other supplies to the places where we get our work done, whatever that is. Some kids carry overnight bags from one household to another and back again. Some people bring things like books or yarn and knitting needles to places where they might have to wait patiently. All of those bags carry something precious. Oh, some people even have special bags to carry their dog or their other pet. So because we are UUs, I'm going to be saying the words of the blessing, but the blessing isn't coming from me. We all have the power to bless our lives, to bless our community. We're going to be generating the energy of blessing as a group, and you all have the power to bestow that blessing on the bag you're holding. So put your hands on it. Imagine that blessing energy channeling through your own hands into the bag and onto whatever person is going to be carrying it if it's not you. And with that, our blessing. Even when you're away from UUCUC, you will carry the heart of Unitarian Universalism with you wherever you go. Today, we bless these bags that accompany us on our journeys. We bless these bags in the name of interdependence. May we always feel connected to our church community, feel connected to the UU faith, and connected to our grand universe. We bless these bags in the name of pluralism. May we always remember to honor and respect people for who they are, even if they're different, and may we keep our minds open to new ideas. We bless these bags in the name of justice. May we always remember to act based on our values and look out for others, include all voices in decision-making. We bless these bags in the name of transformation. May we grow and transform throughout the coming year, becoming more ourselves every day. May we embrace new ideas and learning. We bless these bags in the name of generosity. May we both experience the generosity of our community and remember to be generous with others. We bless these bags in the name of equity. May we remember that we are all inherently worthy, and each of us, including ourselves, has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We bless these bags in the name of love. May you always remember that you are loved here at UUCUC. Remember to love yourself and to love each other. May you keep love at the center of all you do. And now look out there at all the faces looking back at you, people you know and people you don't. I want you to know that they care for you, that they will be with you on the bus, in the hallway, in the lunchroom, at work, on the playground, in your classroom. We have charms to remind you, keychain charms, to remind you of the support of this community. New beginnings can be hard, and when times are hard, we remind you to hold this charm and remember that you can rely on these people, rely on our shared values. You bring them with you wherever you go. Each one of this community will be with you in your heart, loving you and cheering you on. So these bags might not look any different, but the next time you use them, the next time they are opened and filled by another person, I hope that they will feel the blessing we've added as you pack your bag with all the tools you need. Think about the blessings and values you bring with you to your church community. Amen, and blessed be. And with that, everyone can get their keychain. Kelly's on it. And children and youth and families, if you like, are going to be invited to go downstairs with Pam and Lan and some of the members of the Immigration Justice team. They have these backpacks and school supplies that we'll be donating to unaccompanied minors who are starting middle school and high school here in our local schools and need your help in putting them together and writing special notes of encouragement. So I'm getting the nod from Pam. They are ready to head downstairs. Any youth and families who want to head down there and get started on that work on the bin, yeah. Thank you. Good job. Love your pink hair.
Thank you, Reverend Sally. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Pam and Lan, and everyone who volunteers on the Immigration Justice team. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. If you do not know, my name is Reverend Beth Monholland. I'm the lead minister here, and I am so happy to have this moment to get you excited about all of the opportunities that we have here at UUCUC for you to be engaged in the life of this community and the life outside our walls. Everyone is invited next Sunday, August 18th, to a community picnic hosted by the Interfaith Alliance of Champaign County, of which we are a member. It will be at Crystal Lake Park from 4 to 6 p.m. The Interfaith Alliance will provide all of the grilled stuff, both vegetarian and not vegetarian. And anyone who comes, you may come empty-handed, but if you would like to bring something to share and to pass, you are invited to do that as well. It will be a wonderful opportunity to meet our neighbors of different faiths and to engage in that critical part of our mission of building community. Also next Sunday here at our church is we're not sure if it's the 3rd or 4th or 5th, but it is our annual harvest service. It will be led by our worship committee member, Kiri Fagan-Olmschneider. So please feel free next Sunday for service to bring something bountiful from your garden, or if like me, you do not have a garden, I don't know, go to the grocery store or the farmer's market, bring something and be ready to take something next Sunday to share in both our generosity and abundance. Kiri also wants me to make sure folks know that any of the food items that we have left over at the end of service will be donated to local organizations. For folks who've been paying attention this summer, we are in the midst of a database conversion from Breeze to Realm. Realm is fabulous and wonderful. This is me getting you excited about it. But it is way more user-friendly. It is far easier there for us to engage as congregants, to schedule events, and to connect with one another. Our congregational administrator, director of operations, Kate Kalak, is hosting some trainings on that with leaders, and if anybody would like some help with that, just contact Kate. And a couple other things to get you excited for the new church year. REE registration will be starting in Realm very soon. Sometime within the next 10 days, we're getting that up and running. And because we do shared ministry here, because we work together to contribute to the thriving of this community, there are so many opportunities in this new church year for you to be engaged, especially y'all on Sunday mornings. So the REE program is still looking for volunteers to work with our youth and our little ones on Sunday mornings. It is so much fun. I'm looking at 2 of our youth right now. Are you looking at me, y'all? They're like, yeah, come downstairs and work with us on Sunday mornings. Talk to either Kelly Skinner or Natalie Danner, who's the chair of the REE Council, about those opportunities. Also on Sunday mornings, we are starting, and by we I mean me, but also the worship team, thank you, Reverend Sally, a brand new worship associate program, and I'm so grateful for the many folks who've already said yes to my invitation. We're holding a meeting from 1 to 3 today, and so if you are curious about what that might entail, feel free to talk to me during fellowship hour. Also on Sunday mornings, we have our amazing tech guru, Alyssa Knights. I'm pointing, she's like, they are tucked away in a corner back there. But Alyssa is looking for more volunteers to help do all of the exciting things that make the technology work on Sundays. They have worked out procedures and protocols. It will be so easy for you. And if working behind the scenes, like with tech, is the way you want to engage, you can also help on Sunday morning setup and in the kitchen. We have our amazing hospitality teams who work to make sure that during fellowship hour you have some coffee and something to snack on. But there are a few more things that can be done on Sundays to make that smooth, to make fellowship happen. So talk to me about some of those Sunday morning setup, tech, and worship opportunities. Talk to Kelly and Natalie about REE. And just know that all the ways that you give of your time and energy to this community is appreciated, it's valued, and we are so grateful. We also practice actual physical financial generosity here, leaning into our very real interdependence and reliance on each other. We collect an offering each Sunday, and 50% of non-pledged donations on Sunday mornings are given to an organization doing the work of justice in the world. For this month, the month of August, our shared offering partner is the Urbana Neighborhoods Connection Center, which provides outreach and resources for area youth during the school year and summer programming. You can give by text or through our online portal on our website. And if you are here in the sanctuary, the basket will be passed and checks can be made out to UUCUC. Be sure to put in the memo if you are writing the check for your pledge or if you would like it donated to the shared offering. Remember, half of what you give for shared offering goes towards sustaining our operations, and the other half goes directly to our partner organizations. We invite you to give whatever is generous for you, and know that anything you contribute will be gratefully received. The offering will now be collected with gratitude and joy. Thank you so much. Sorry, while Michael was playing, Michael, keep playing, you're fine. I forgot to also mention that if you have a joy and sorrow that you would like shared aloud, now is the time to pass those forward. You'll find joys and sorrows cards in your pew racks, or you could submit it via email at uucuc.org. I knew I was forgetting something. I'm sure I forgot something else. I'll come back to it if I did. Thank you for your generosity. And I did forget one other announcement we wanted to make sure y'all are aware of. On Sunday, September 8th, our REE program is going to host a welcome back for families. We are after service that day. Folks are invited to meet out on the playground for a family welcome. It's a great opportunity, whether you are a longtime member, to reconnect with folks, and if you're new and have some little ones, to meet with other families and let the kids play. And I don't know, you can get some grown-up talkie time while the kids are out on the playground together. And now is our time to share in spiritual generosity by reading aloud joys and sorrows. We know that whenever we gather, we are all carrying with us our entire lives, both the things that spark happiness in us, the things that weigh us down, and we trust that in this act of sharing together, even if just for this hour, our joys are multiplied and our burdens are lightened. If you have cards you want to pass forward, please feel free to bring those. I will begin with some of the joys and sorrows folks have shared via email. A sorrow from Jenna and Katie Zeidler. On Friday, we said goodbye to our dog Taco. He had an aggressive stomach cancer that had taken his appetite, but not his love for basking in a sunbeam or barking at the mail carrier. Some of you might remember Taco from performances at the coffee houses. He is truly special and will be infinitely missed. In a similar goodbye to our furry friends, this is another sorrow from our AV tech, Alyssa, and their mom, Katrina Knights. This Tuesday, we had to say goodbye to our sweet Chihuahua, Danny. Without the efforts of this congregation and Care Corps, we would never have had some of the best 4 years together. Everyone he came across loved him and made a lasting impact, and he made a lasting impact on so many people's hearts. Thank you to everyone who was part of his journey, bringing him to us. We cherish these past 4 years fondly, and while we are gutted that we didn't get more time with him, we know that our sweet, sweet Danny is resting easy now. From Tanya Hodges, thoughts and support for a friend, Tanya asks. Her friend Lindsay Sharp received a breast cancer diagnosis recently. Please keep her, Nick, and their family in your thoughts during this difficult time. Tanya says Lindsay is a fighter, but everyone can use a little help sometimes. And a sorrow from Cindy Louie. A sorrow for Randy Locke, whose father, Randy Locke Sr., died this week. Randy's parents were frequent visitors here at UUCUC. Please keep Randy and Tricia and their daughters in your thoughts. And I have a joy. I would like to joyfully thank Jocelyn Karsk, bat herder extraordinaire, who took a call late on Friday afternoon when we had a sweet little tiny bat loose in the building. And Jocelyn came and rescued that sweet little bat and let it back into the wild. Nobody was hurt, although a few people were a little freaked out. Jocelyn was not one of them, and it is a story to tell in minister circles. You got to witness the rescue of a bat on a Friday afternoon. And how many congregations have bat experts? I don't know, but we're one of them, y'all. Thank you, Jocelyn. And thank you to each of you. Thanks for all of the ways you show up for this community. Thanks for the ways you share tears and share laughter. And for everything we've spoken aloud today, and for all that we are always carrying in our hearts, we say a blessing and we say thank you.
Thumbs up? What?
invite you to take a breath. Let the energy of our blessing song continue to pull you into a state of calm, centered clarity. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the tiny muscles in your face. Try to let them relax to neutral. And focus on these words, a meditation for beginning, written by Judith Quarles. Spirit of life and love, in this season of beginning, some of us are hurried and harried. Some of us feel sorrowful and afraid. Some of us are not yet ready to step forward into the future. May we minister to one another with wisdom, meeting our friends with open ears, open eyes, and open hearts. In this season of beginning, some of us are celebrating triumphs and joys. Some of us feel whole and happy. Some of us are eager and excited, curious to see what happens next. Let us each, as we are able, take part in one another's happiness and enthusiasm. Quiet spirit of life and love, bring us the grace to share wholly and faithfully in the lives of our friends and loved ones. Amen.
So I love the excitement of fall. It's my favorite season. And I love especially having that moment earlier that we had when we blessed the backpacks and acknowledged that we're all having new beginnings, even if we're all not starting school. One of my favorite things about UU theology is the fact that we're part of a living tradition, which means that we're constantly learning, growing, and transforming, and starting over. As Unitarian Universalists, we open ourselves to new beginnings over and over and over again. Sometimes those new beginnings are things that we can actually see, and sometimes they're personal transitions that are going on that others can't see unless we share them with them. But we are all still going through those new beginnings all the time. And like those new beginnings in school, we think of buying the backpacks, buying the school supplies, the new clothes or the shoes, because the kids had a growth spurt over the summer. We can think about it like when we start a new job, like what are the things that I need here? What's my space look like? And the ways that we adjust and adapt to new expectations and new communities. I was thinking about how our kids are getting used to new places depending on what types of new schools they're going to and the types of environments they're going to, and that can happen for anyone. In fact, a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we did a really neat new event where I invited all the incoming new freshmen to join us for a bonfire. And I also had their parents come with, and I invited some of our veteran high schoolers, and we even had a student who had graduated and was going on to college for the first time. And one of the things that I asked all of those people that were there gathered around the fire to do was to share a story, to share a memory of a first day of school, or any new beginning, really. And they all told stories about a first day of school or a new beginning. And all of those stories had the same elements, whether they were of a parent who their school days were long gone, or whether it was a student who was talking about her first day of kindergarten, or somebody who was talking about her first day of high school. They all had the same elements. Because we're all able to start again at any time. And it can be so difficult to acknowledge that space and to acknowledge that even if something is exciting, it can still feel like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because I can definitely tell you that no matter what, even if it's a change that you want, it can still be hard. So this is a time of beginnings because of the ways of our dominant school calendar and our work calendar. It's built around this beginning in the fall. But it's also interesting that we live in a culture that we have lots of other times for new beginnings. January, when we make New Year's resolutions. But we also feel like this is a time of newness, this late August, this early September. And I think it's good to acknowledge that as well. And so when I was thinking about what new beginnings, I couldn't help but think of the concept from Buddhism of beginner's mind, and how the beginner's mind is something that helps us stay present to and with each other. The beginner's mind is one of the keys to mindfulness, and it helps us stay in wonderment and awe. And I think having that sense of awe is a key way that we stay present and connected with one another. A few years ago, I took this immersive leadership workshop, and one of the concepts that they talked about was to look at things with a beginner's mind and to really be conscious of putting on that beginner's mind, because that was the way that we would truly learn things from this workshop, even if we had done them before. And I found out that that concept of beginner's mind comes from a book called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shiniera Suzuki. And she talks about in this book that when we have any new project, we're like, look at that thing over there. Look at all these things that we can do. But the more that we learn, the more that we build on the things that we're learning. And then over time, even though we have more and more knowledge of the things that we're doing, we're less open to how things can be different. It's kind of a weird contradiction, isn't it? We learn more things, and then we get more closed off. Over time, things that we were curious about, things that were open and porous to learning about, they become things that we no longer see anymore. And they become just ordinary. They go in one ear and out the other, and we don't even realize it. Practicing that beginner's mind can help us work on our mindset so that we can stay open, we can stay intentional. It can help us be present, even in situations that we have experienced before, even when we think that we know all the answers, and be open to something we don't yet already know. Because one of my mottos is that change and transformation is always occurring at the edge of what we don't yet know. The backpacks that we blessed earlier, to me, they are a physical reminder that honors this new beginning for all of us. Very few of us are truly beginners, unless you are a kindergartner who's starting school for the very first time. Do we have any of those in here? Each year you start off new beginnings. You start off with some level of knowledge or experience from which you can draw from. We never come with truly empty backpacks. There's always some baggage from something that we had before. It was, this teacher, I had that teacher last year, or my big sister, she told me all about this Some of that might not be true. Why aren't you doing that there? And there's always those stories that we bring into new experiences and new relationships that are supposed to make us feel uncomfortable with that uncomfortable new beginning, but actually shut us off sometimes from the things that we need to stay open to. Everybody comes in with those stories, so it's not truly a blank slate. And once you get to a certain age, we're all carrying those stories around. We can't truly set them down. So it becomes a challenge. How am I actually going to have this beginner's mind on an ongoing basis? Sometimes I actually envy our littlest ones because they have no preconceptions about what things are actually going to be like unless they've done it before, which they haven't. But then it becomes a problem because even we as adults, in our efforts to help them and reassure them, we tell them, oh, it's going to be okay, or it might be a little bit different this year than it was last year. And helping them to try to adjust to those new possibilities. With each new layer of story in our new beginnings, it becomes harder and harder for us to have that open mind that we need. I believe if we practice the spiritual tools of mindfulness and having a beginner's mind, it helps us to actually live our values, the values that we talked about during the backpack blessing: justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, and at the center of all, love. Because as you may know, Unitarianism focuses on the belief of oneness of all people. And Universalism is the belief that we are all loved and all people have access to love. Like, we can believe that intellectually, right? Sounds really good. We can all go, oh yes, that totally makes sense. I believe that. But then the hard part is when we try to bring it into our hearts and we go, wait a minute, inherent worth and dignity. If like literally all people, do you really mean that? Have you really tried believing in the inherent worth and dignity of all people? It's not easy. So when you think about it, we tend to put it out there for strangers. Here are all these people I can believe in, the worth and dignity of the people I haven't met yet. But what about the family members that you disagree with? That colleague who says or does things that you find hard to digest? You know, those people too, whoever they are, they also have inherent dignity and worth. It's a hard thing to keep reminding ourselves of. So being able to practice that beginner's mind helps us try to stay in a place of curiosity and wonder. I wonder what is happening for this person. I wonder what happened in the story of their lives that led them to believe these things or to say these things. I wonder why I'm having this reaction. That being able to stay in that space of wonderment also keeps us present because it's so hard. It's easy to just, when you're in an interaction with somebody, to go into the story that we already have about that person, right? Immediately we're like, oh wait, I'm already creating a wall between me and this person because of the thing that they did or the thing that they said in the past, but we're not open to how they are right now. They could have changed since the last time that we saw them. we could hold out that possibility. But if we come with a closed mind and a closed heart, then we don't know. And we're not open to the maybe. So another thing I was thinking about beginner's mind is how often we don't notice what's right in front of our faces. And one of the things that I find myself not noticing, just an example, is some of these beautiful banners that we have in our sanctuary. Have you ever noticed them? Some of you might have been here when those banners were put up, but many of you may not even seen them. It's the first time that you've seen them with fresh eyes. I think this is a great example of how we change based on repeatedly being in the same space. So maybe you came to a service when they talked about the banners, or maybe you were here when they put them up. And you went, oh, they're really cool. By the way, if you don't know, they represent our sources. There's different symbols of the different sources. We have, I don't know how many we have, but there's quite a few of them. You maybe, when they came to your attention, they're like, wow, that's really cool. I really like the symbols of all these sources. But then over time, you stopped seeing them in this space. They're just like these things on the wall, and you don't really know anything about them. You might even notice if they weren't there. You might not. You'd be like, wonder what happened here? Or maybe you wouldn't even notice that they were gone. But on a regular Sunday, how many of you even see them when you walk into this space? That's not a judgment on you or me or anybody, it's just how we are as humans. Over time, we stop noticing. Sort of like when we have guests over to our house, and then all of a sudden we kind of like look at our space through the eyes of what our guests might see, and you start seeing the clutter that you didn't know was there. And for that moment, you see it with new eyes of somebody else, or this beginner's mind, and you think, oh my gosh, that's not really how I want other people to experience my space. And that's not a bad thing. It's just what we as humans do. So I wanted to highlight this as an example of how we come into a space and over time, we just kind of forget the physical things. And we forget that there's people all the time that are coming into these spaces, into our interactions, into our community for the first time. And we forget, and we get in ruts. But with that beginner's mind, we can step back and say, I wonder, why do we have these banners here? I wonder what the story is behind it. I wonder who were the people that thought it was important to put them up there as a reminder. With our beginner's mind, we can get curious. What is that new person who this is the first time that they've walked in the door? What are they seeing for the first time? How are they being welcomed? How are they being noticed? How are they being invited? We need to do that in all of our interactions with one another, whether it's the first time that we interact with people or the 500th time that we interact with them. We need to be able to step back and think about what are the assumptions that we have about each other? What is the story that we are carrying about ourselves as individuals, about other people, and how we actually interact? This beginner's mind, it keeps us open to what we have not yet done, which is what we have not yet tried. What is the new story that we can create together with some joy and purpose and openness? How do we connect to that inner child who looks at things with the fresh eyes. I listened to this podcast by Ezra Klein. I'm sure a lot of you might know him. He's from the New York Times. And last year he did this interview with a professor of psychology at the University of California, Berkeley. Her name is Alison Gopnik, and she runs the Cognitive Development and Learning Lab. And she has written like half a dozen books, including the book, The Full Philosophical Baby. In Klein, he talked that Gopnik sees children as R&D, or the research development department of the human race. And her argument is that a mind tuned to learn, because we think of children as constantly being open to learning, a mind tuned to learn works differently than a mind that's trying to exploit what it already knows. So when I was listening to his podcast, Alison, she talked a lot about how the brain changes over time and how we become what we are with small children especially. We're just always amazed at the things that small kids can notice that we've forgotten. We don't even see it anymore, but they are the ones who can. They point those things out to us, and we're like, oh, wait, what? She talks about how that same process also happens in our brains again in our teenage years, where it's totally normal for teenagers to point out all the things that we should fix that adults don't even notice anymore. And so it's hard for us adults who've come to this other side of brain development to say, okay, that's normal. That's a normal stage that they're in. And you know, this is how it should be. They should be questioning. How can we learn from what they're questioning? She also talked about the importance of play. So let's take what the Buddhists say about meditation and noticing our thoughts and combine it with what she's learned in these cognitive learning labs about play. She talks about play as a way to help us be responsive and resilient. As adults, she recommends reading fiction and making time for silliness and play. So right now, I'm going to give you permission. Enjoy all your Marvel movies. Enjoy all the toys. Enjoy playing for things just for the fun of it, not making it into a contest or competition. As an adult, I've had to notice there's lots of times that I make things serious, things that I don't need to really be that serious. And perhaps there's more ways that we can bring play into that. How can we make a game out of something? How can we not worry about looking bad long enough to play? How can we be more open if we try a different way to think of things intentionally, to build in silliness and to remind ourselves not to take ourselves or even what we do here so seriously? That's why some of our curriculum this year will be centered around games and playing and fun. So think back on your day-to-day life with your beginner's mind of being able to stay open and the importance of play. Life is so short. Let's try to have fun where we can. Knowing those opportunities for play and resilience, they help us to stay in that spot, help us to go back to that childhood of wonderment and excitement, and help us to connect better as well. Thank you for listening and being open to having a beginner's mind. So I invite you to rise in body, or if your body is not able, then in spirit, and join us in singing our closing hymn, For All That Is Our Life. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. May we carry until we are together again. As we listen to this blessing of music, may we know this ending is more than a time of goodbye. May the warmth of this community and the memory of our childless flame sustain our hearts and encourage our minds as we engage the blessings of life's challenges and joys with a beginner's mind. Go in peace, go in joy, and go in love. And close our singing hymn, Go Lift It Up.